Folks, it's Fernando doing a video for the Modern Survivalist, and it may surprise some to know that the #1 selling folding knife in Amazon is by far the Swiss Army knife, the Victorinox Classic, the little keychain knife we've seen so many times. Now, it's not so much of a surprise given that it's all over the place. And yes, I'm going to be leaving links below for all this stuff that I'm going to be talking about here in a second. And yes, I do get a small cut from that. I really appreciate it because it helps quite a bit. So why is it that this little keychain knife is so popular? Well, if you think about it, it's really not much of a surprise because it has, in such a minimalistic way, in a very compact form, super lightweight, under an ounce, I think it's 0.7 ounces, it has the bare minimums that you usually end up needing. So my favorite keychain tool has been for many years the Swiss Army knife, the Mini Champ, which is this one, right? There's a few versions, some of them have a light, which I had with me for some time, and I ended up using at one time or another all tools in this tool. At one time or another, I always found something useful for each one, and for me, it's really not, that big. I keep it in my keychain, have been doing so for years, but to be completely honest, there's usually some tools that I end up using quite a bit more often than others. And of course, those are the ones here in the Classic. Now, there's a little bit of a difference. The one that is #1 selling in Amazon, it has a flathead screwdriver here. This is, technically speaking, a nail cleaner, right? I have used this tool many times. I don't think I've ever used it as a nail cleaner. Maybe I did once or twice. But this for me has always been a fantastic flathead Phillips screwdriver. So you have the option of this one or the one with a small flat screwdriver. But you have your main blade, which is just 1.25 inches long. The thing is, usually that's all you need. When you need a small cutting tool, when you need to cut something, you rarely end up needing like your big folder, right? Usually it's opening, I mean, come on, let's be completely honest. You're opening boxes, you're opening envelopes, you're cutting a little bit of string. Usually that's it. Sure, if you're in an outdoors environment or doing some kind of outdoors activity or even heading to the sticks for whatever reason, you will have a bigger folder, right? But for the general, common, normal, everyday stuff, usually this little blade is all you need. That's why people find this little thing so handy, because when you need to cut something, a little bit of string, or even something a little bit bigger, if you need to cut a cardboard box and open a little bit something a little bit heavier, with a little bit of patience and practice and not being too forceful, you can open pretty much anything you need to cut. And then you have, of course, your scissors. That I will admit that over the years I've changed my tune regarding scissors. For many years I've had the attitude, the mentality that whatever you can cut with scissors, you can cut with a sharp knife. So just keep your knife sharp, and you don't need scissors, right? That's been the way I thought for many years. And to some extent, I've changed that. Yes, technically speaking, anything you can cut with scissors, you can cut with a knife, right? But the scissors sometimes are just so much more practical and handy. When you have to cut a little bit of. This is very popular. Among women. Women love the Classic. And one of the things they love the most is the little scissors when they have clothes with tags or maybe a little bit of string in some dress or something. It's much nicer and easier to just snip and cut it with a set of sharp scissors like these. And that's it. It's not as easy to do that with your knife. Maybe it's a little bit more complicated than that. Then you have, and this is my theory as of why the Classic is so popular. Then you have in the one that's, it's pretty much the same thing. Basically, you have that difference there. But then you have this other tool, which is technically a nail file, technically a flathead screwdriver, or nail cleaner, depending on the version of the Classic that you get. I think this is the newer The one with the flathead is the newer Classic. Maybe this is the older Classic. I don't know, but they're both on the same name. The thing is that for some, this is a great little screwdriver when they need it, and this, as I said, many times I've used it as a flat Phillips head screwdriver, and it works very well for that. But most of all, it seems to be like a good general prying tool that you somehow manage to keep in your keychain. And yes, you can get a little bit more, put a little bit more force into that without risk of breaking it like you would with a main blade, which is of course thinner, has less metal in it. But for the general scrapping, scratching, prying, poking thing, this comes in great. This comes in very, very handy. And yes, some people end up using the nail file. I don't think I've used it a lot, but I understand that for some other folks, yes. And even with a flathead, you could clean your nails, you can pry stuff, you can do stuff with a classic. That's what the beauty of this tool. And then you have, of course, your tweezers, which come in handy many times. I'm thinking of some cases in which I've used these things. For example, the scissors. What made me change my mind regarding scissors was during we were hiking with my oldest son, and he fell, a little bit of an accident, and he scrapped quite a bit of a strap of skin from his hand, and that needed cleaning, and he ended up with a pretty thick, big, loose strap of skin in his hand, and we had to clean that up. And I ended up cutting it with the scissors in my Leatherman, and that's something that I honestly could not have done with just a sharp knife. It would have been much more painful. With the scissors, it was just cutting that little bit of, well, not that little, it was quite a big piece of skin, but it was so practical to have a sharp set of scissors available at that time. So you have your tweezers, which sometimes if you have splinters, or some people mention, it's very cool to read if you follow the link for the classic, it's very cool to read the comments people have in Amazon, the crazy things and ingenious things they end up using the classic for. But picking up small screws for some people, fixing stuff, that's just where it shines. And then the toothpick. I don't know who uses a toothpick for actually picking their teeth, but again, as a prying, scrapping tool when you don't want to use metal, for some people this comes in handy. Now, having said all this and loving the classic as much as I do, and loving my Mini Champ, I was and you notice this is still in its original package, and the reason for that is that I'm gonna be sending this one back to Amazon. I'm gonna be sending it right back, because as soon as I got this one, I got it because I had removed the Vault Dweller guy from my keychain. I love it, but it just gets caught everywhere. Now, as soon as I remove it, I found that I'm kind of lacking something, and sometimes I want to have a little bit of a tool in the keychain of my car keys as well. So I ended up looking at the classic. I had this one, I don't even remember the name of it, but it's missing the scissors. It has a flat head, and I don't know if this is even an older version of the classic or what the name is for this one, but I ended up getting this one, and then I remembered about the manager, and the manager is the one that I'm personally going to be keeping in my keychain, and it's this little tool right here. Now the manager is just a little, and there's the manager and there's the Rambler. The Rambler has the classic scales with the tweezers and pick. Other than that, the Rambler is the exact same tools, the same metal tools on the inside, it's just the scales are different. The manager instead has a pen, and that's something I saw myself liking to have in my keychain, because I end up using this one a lot. The pen in my Mini Champ, I use it quite a bit. I see myself using it here as well. One of the other things I realize is that with the classic, what happens is once you attach this to your keychain, what happens is if you end up using the knife, look at how the knife, the main blade, which is by all means the thing you use the most, it's going against your keys when you open it. With a manager, that doesn't happen. With the manager, you open it away from your keys, so you can have your keys using it for extra grip and using the blade. Simple, silly stuff, but it always ends up you know, I've noticed that with my Minichamp, that having that that way of opening is so much more handy than having the keys messing up in this area where I'm working with a knife, right? So what the manager does is you have your main blade, the one you use all the freaking time, you know, your knife, the main tool. You have your scissors, all right, which, as we were saying, they're fantastic. You have your nail file, small screwdriver, little tool thing here. And then you have one of the ones that I love the most of the Minichamp, which is the cap lifter and wire stripper and actual great Phillips screwdriver. This is used all the time. This is maybe the tool I use the most in the Minichamp, right after the blade. So what this is, what the manager is like a compact version, you know, a trimmed down version of the Minichamp, right? This is why I feel that this one just does it for me. And this one has also fantastic, the manager and the Rambler, I think they have, like, I think the Rambler is the one that has over 500 reviews, 5-star rating. That's not easy to get. So as to make so many people happy, then they must be doing something right. I don't have the toothpick thing, which I honestly never use ever, you know, in spite of it being the plastic prying little thing. But I have the tweezers, which I really want to have, and I have the pen. You know, technically speaking, you're supposed to use this like so, but you know, for taking a quick note, you don't have to deploy it like that. But it's just significantly more compact. You know, you're thinking it quite a bit, and you're getting the basic stuff of the Minichamp that just does it. This is what I'm going to be keeping here for my car keys. It's really not that big a deal. So guys, you have those options, and there is a Midnight Minichamp, a Midnight Manager, which has light instead of the pen, I believe. There's also a Victorinox Signature, which is the classic plus the pen. So if you want to have just the pen, you can have the classic with the pen as well. Leaving the links there below. Guys, just a few things that I've been thinking about lately, a few thoughts. And yeah, all this stuff is, it's great if you still haven't bought something for Christmas, or you're missing something. Oh, the manager, you can exchange. It comes with a toothpick. If you really want the toothpick thing, it comes included in the box in case you want to change it for the tweezers. But all of these are quite nice. If you haven't bought something yet for Christmas for someone, and you want something that's very cheap, like 12 bucks, a little bit more for the other tools, consider these. Also, if you haven't bought my book yet, you may want to get it for Christmas, either the Modern Survival Manual or Bugging Out and Relocating, both linked below as well, available in Amazon. Guys, have a great day, take care, see you on our next video.